NRA News commentator Billy Johnson is with us. Billy, how are you, sir?
Good, Cam. How you doing?
I am excellent. Thank you for coming on the program. I got to say, I am really enjoying your commentaries.
Why, thank you. Thank you. I enjoy your show.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Mutual Admiration Society. Now, I wanted to have you on because there's been a lot of talk over the past a few days, a number of news stories regarding 3D printing of firearms. And one of the things that I like about you is you're a very reasonable guy. You kind of it seems to me like you like to go past the hype and actually find out what's really going on. And there is an incredible amount of hype surrounding the issue of 3D printing and firearms.
I mean, there has been. I mean, I know people are concerned with obviously plastics and guns, and obviously the new metal printed gun. But I think people were just as concerned about polymer frame pistols like the Glock coming out in the 80s, and we saw a lot of hype around that as well.
Absolutely. We talked with the guys from Solid Concepts yesterday, the people who did the first 3D printed metal firearm. And, I mean, it's really, it's incredible technology, but they made it pretty clear. I mean, this isn't consumer technology. Billy, we're not going to have our own 3D laser printers that can do this sitting, in our studies. Pretty much, I got the impression ever. Now, maybe they're wrong about that, but anyway, go ahead.
I think the metal is obviously very different than the plastic 3D printers. I think plastic, I mean, we see many low-cost solutions for plastic printing, and, whether or not pistols made of plastic are viable, that's debatable for how long they are viable. Metal, obviously, like they said, that equipment is much, much, much more expensive. But, I mean, 20, 30 years, is it going to be possible? Maybe. I definitely think the plastic, I think us having plastic printers in our home in the next 10 years is I think you're going to see a tremendous amount of people actually purchasing plastic 3D printers.
Listen, I mean, I am interested myself in the concept, but when I start thinking about what I would use it for, I start running out of stuff really quickly.
Well, imagine this. Imagine something breaks on an item you buy, right, and you call tech support, and they say, you know what, in 10 minutes I can send this file to your printer, and you can print a new 3D plastic part, and you can fix your own item. So I think there's some situations like that technology is completely viable, and it interests me. I'm fascinated by it. I think technology and access to information is something we should all applaud. Obviously, there's always going to be someone that's going to do something bad with technology and bad with information, and that unfortunately has existed in society since the dawn of man, and we're never going to get rid of that.
No, absolutely, and that's why I think, when you see politicians, I think, Philadelphia City Council wanted to come out with a ban on the 3D printing of firearms. When you it seems to me like when you place the emphasis on banning stuff and in banning things, you're kind of missing out on the fact that this progress is taking place, whether you like it or not. And the way to deal with it is not to simply say, "Well, stop, don't do it," but it is to try to figure out, I think, how to live with this new technology.
Right, and I think, technology is one thing with the recent gun debate in the last year and gun control debate. Technology has really not played a part in this debate. And listen, no one can stop technology. No one can stop the spread of information unless you want to shut the internet down. It is here. It is here to stay, and the access that people are going to have to tools is going to increase dramatically.
All right, now to that end, though, let's talk about smart guns for a second, because I'm sure the research fellows at Media Matters are yelling at their computers, what about smart guns? That's technology, too. There's a new poll out that shows Americans are not really supportive of the idea of smart gun technology. And this is, I think, because, Billy, this isn't really the free market that was behind this. This wasn't consumer demand that was calling for this. It was the really government mandate.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I'm definitely a technology person, and then here's another aspect of incorporating technology into a product that I'm actually not too excited about. Well, listen, technology is not a substitute for safety and for training. in any way, shape, or form, or for anybody responsibly securing their firearms. I personally would never depend on a technology to keep my firearms safe. I would lock them up and do the responsible thing. And people are going to say, well, if someone breaks into your house and steals your gun, they're not going to be able to use it. I can hear that argument, but when I look at a firearm, it is something that has functioned. A semi-automatic firearm has functioned virtually the same for the last 100 years, and it hasn't changed much because it works very well. I'm not too excited about incorporating a technology into that piece of hardware that potentially could, limit my access to it as well. It's a tough thing because I think we are going to see more development in that front, and I think we're going to see all sorts of different weapons systems that are going to be developed for military and law enforcement. And there is going to be technology that's going to be incorporated in that. You already see that in tasers. They're starting to put cameras in tasers. When a taser is deployed, small particles come out and they have serial numbers on them, and those serial numbers are registered to the person that bought that taser. So you do see some of those technologies. But to be honest, I'm not excited about it, and I think that to prevent someone access to that firearm and solely be dependent on that technology is not something I would ever be comfortable doing.
As here's the thing: I would consider owning a firearm with biometric technology or with some sort of smart technology, just as soon as military and law enforcement adopt it. Right?
That's a good point.
Because honestly, if I'm carrying a gun for self-defense, then I need to use that. My need to use that firearm in self-defense is going to be no less than a first responder's need to use their firearm. So if it works for them and they're happy with it, then that's going to be a huge endorsement. But right now, the way the legislation is written is that law enforcement would be exempt from the smart gun requirements.
Well, and it's funny because when you go back and look at some of the studies that they were talking about in the 90s with smart gun technology, one of the major points was that we have law enforcement officers that have their gun, in a fight, their guns might be taken away from them, and then their guns are used against them.
Right.
And that was one of the driving factors of doing research, and that was, well, if we can have this gun tied to this officer's hand, then that gun won't be used against them. So it's funny to hear you say that because that was, one of the major reasons to conduct the research on it. But I want to know what's the point here. There's 300 million guns in this country. As technology increases and you've been able to manufacture your own guns since the equipment existed. So someone can break into a home and steal a gun. Someone can buy a gun on the street. So who actually is this technology going to save? From your opinion, Cam, what do you think? It seems like it's preventing someone access to your gun in your home or in that fight situation where someone might take your gun away from you. But if it's breaking into your home and taking your gun, like I said, nothing substitutes locking your firearms up.
Absolutely. And I have to say, one of the things that I think you would be we'd be blind at this point to still think that waving your magic wand and saying technology makes everything better actually works. Any system that is designed to keep people out is guaranteed to have people working on it to figure out how to get in, right?
Absolutely.
That's pretty basic. So I have to say, just really from a logistical standpoint, the idea that there's going to be some sort of undefeatable technology, I doubt that very much. If there is a big enough reason for criminals to want to hack or break that system, break that device to unlock the gun, just like they unlock phones, they'll do it. So I think from a very basic standpoint, I'm not sure this is. I think this is kind of pointless.
Well, like I said, a firearm that I would use, God forbid, the situation where I'd have to protect myself and use a firearm, I don't want a piece of technology in my way to do that.
Absolutely. So, I'm trying to think of the mark for this, Billy. Right? Other than again, if a company or manufacturer decided, hey, we want to try to do this, or this could be an option for people, we'll see if they want to buy this. that's one thing. But again, the government to mandate something. But then again, we've had the New Jersey Institute of Technology working on this for well over a decade now, or almost a decade, and we still don't have actual workable technology anyway. Do you think we will?
I'm sure someday someone's going to say we do have workable technology. I mean, that'll probably always be debatable. As you know, under stress, people could hold a firearm many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you have to grip it tightly? What if you're under stress and you're not gripping it tightly? What if your arm's injured and you can only hold the firearm with 3 fingers? Is it and you need to utilize it? Is it going to work? So those are other things that would concern me about any type of technology like that. And like I said, there's a reason guns haven't changed much over the last 100 years. It's because they work well, they're effective, and I think if it's effective, why put some technology into it that in certain circumstances, I mean, how many situations does this actually happen?
Exactly. Hey, listen, Billy, we got to run, but it's great talking to you, sir. I hope we can have you back on again very soon.
Anytime, Cam. Just let me know.
Absolutely. Billy Johnson, one of the commentators here at NRA News. Be sure to check out the Commentators channel and check out Billy's work.